Mm-hmm. Haley's ready. Andy's ready. Joshua's ready. Linnell's ready. All right, kiddos. As you're getting settled, remember you should have a writing utensil out. You should have your 2 reading pieces, and you should have a coding card, a reminder card, and a yellow turn and talk card. Everybody have everything they need?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody ready to show what awesome, amazing students you are?
Yes.
Every day, all day long?
Yes.
All right. Yeah. Oh, that's okay, honey. Thank you. Okay, well, I'm going to have everybody pull out the mystery of the messy desk. We're going to kind of jump right in from where we were yesterday. And yesterday, you read the mystery of the messy desk on your own. We did not do any coding yesterday, so I'm going to give you about 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes right now to do a quicker reread or skim of the mystery of the messy desk, and I want you to code and or annotate this time. So you're going to share your thinking in the margin while you're going back through the article. That way, when we're discussing both articles, it'll help you remember what you were thinking at that time. Right, Thomas? Okay. And for your viewing pleasure, I have some different images up here, which we will talk about later, but they're both related to the different articles. So it'll be interesting to see if you guys can figure out which picture goes with which article. All right, so about 5 to 8 quiet minutes right now. Writing utensil, messy desk article, and your coding card. Get started. There you go. You can use the symbols on the coding card, or if you have a thought, you can just write a note to yourself in the margin. If you have any questions, raise your hand and I'll come to you. I'm going to let you choose. If coding is easier for you, you absolutely can do both. Yeah, so you can use the symbols, or if there's something that just doesn't apply and you want to write yourself a note about your thinking, that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. Oh my goodness, it's a lot of coding. Awesome. I see a lot of great remarks and coding marks that people are marking down. Yeah. It used to be. I thought that the links was kind of a better picture because you have a connection to it. You already knew that.
because whenever I get thirsty, I'll be able to drink.
Okay. After, but right now, I need to see your thinking. Right now, I don't see anything, and I know you were thinking while you were reading. Paper looks like mine from yesterday. I have all kinds of notes on mine. So does yours. Let me see. You have yours in here. It's okay. You know what? If you finish, you can go back and code again. See if there's things that you missed. Could I see thumbs up if you're on the second page? Or past? Okay. So probably about maybe three or so more minutes. But it's nonfiction though, right? I'll be right there, Haley. Did you get some coding marks down? Why not? Look at all your choices. This is new. I'm confused. Or, wow, holy smokes. Or I can picture this in my mind. I have a connection here, or something you already knew. Have you read about anything you already knew a little bit about? Or new vocabulary, new words. Okay, I'm gonna come back and check. Let's try to get at least 3 marks down, okay? So you can share your thinking. Yes, ma'am. You can make a great 5th grade choice if you wanna read your free reading. Oh, look at you. You have a lot of marks on yours. Did you do even the cliffhanger or the ending?
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. How's it going, my dear? Oh, you're marking up a storm. Awesome. I see lots of people making a great choice. They're reading their free reading book, so I know that they're done. I'm able to find some coding marks on that last page. Cool. Is that a new vocabulary word too? You could use the V also.
I'm done for
Mm-hmm. Right, about another minute or so. Does this mean the whole thing was a wow? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you some directions, so I need everybody's attention. On your desks, you have a yellow turn and talk card, okay, and there's 5 questions on there that you could use. You don't have to use all of them. You can pick whichever ones you want, and you're going to ask a neighbor or 2 at your group questions about what you just read. This is where your coding marks or your annotations come in, because it helps remind you what you were thinking at that particular point. What was surprising, new, interesting, perplexing, something you were able to visualize, okay? So we're going to spend just about 5 minutes doing a turn and talk with a neighbor. I realize some of your groups have an odd number, so you might have to have a pair of 2 and a group of 3, okay? You're going to take turns asking each other any question you'd like from the yellow slip, okay? Make sure everybody has a chance to share and respond, and then you can move on to any of the other questions as well. All right, so about 5 minutes, I'm going to set the timer here, and then we'll come back together as a group. Let's have the person I'll let you choose. You guys pick. Where you going, honey?
What are some of the most
Can I join your pair? I'm going to ask you to put it over here for now because nobody else is having drinks or snacks, okay? That's a good spot for it because then it won't spill. Okay? And then you can have it when we're done. I can put it there for you. All right. So, on your card, look at, I highlighted some of the questions that you might want to ask. So you and I are going to do a turn and talk together. So do you want me to ask you a question first? Okay. Michael, what surprised you the most in the mystery of the messy desk? What did you find most surprising or interesting? Well, this is why you want to look back at your article, see what coding marks you made while you were reading. Michael, over here. What surprised you? How did Fleming discover penicillin? It was kind of an unusual situation. Do you remember what happened? Well, what do you need to do then? What strategy can you use if you don't remember something? Go back and reread, right? So let's go back. And I'm going to have you start. It starts right here. Okay? I'm going to have you reread and then we'll come back and we'll chat. Okay? Quick reread. Eyes on your paper. Yeah, I know. It's loud in here a lot though, honey. You know that. Who's sharing over here? I'm just listening.
I put these in my computer and like a pencil. I put it in the photograph and it was a girl over here. 7 brothers and sisters. We're doing our second one.
Oh, you are? Back and forth. That's how it works.
I did it so
You both did? That's very quick. What was most interesting, do you think? What surprised you girls the most in this one?
Just played and then he had 7 others.
It is. Have you ever heard of blue cheese? Like salad dressing or on salad? Guess what the blue stuff is in that blue cheese? So some is okay. Some is perfectly healthy for people to eat. And there are some that are dangerous, for sure. If you girls truly have gone through and asked each other and answered, go through and why don't you share your coding marks, okay? Share what you were thinking. What did you guys find most interesting?
I found it was interesting is that just the mold that just came into the window actually helped him develop the mold.
Why does that surprise you? Well, so what? What about mold? Why does mold surprise you that they get medicine from that? Okay, and can you find, does a chemist have to create mold or can it just appear on its own? If you guys have finished turning and talking, share your coding marks. You what? Fantastic. I'm going to ask all of you some questions in just a minute. What part of the reading were you able to visualize in your mind? Anybody use the halos around the mold? Okay. Yeah.
His mind is absent.
I could visualize
Yeah, that can have a huge influence on things, right? Miss Emma, let's finish that later, please, okay? No, I know, but I'd rather have you read, okay? Have you guys had a chance to chat, turn and talk? Why is this worth reading about? Why is it important for people to know about this? Alexander Fleming. What about the messy desk? Why is that worth learning about, knowing about? Remember that thought later when we're talking about both articles. Come on in. I'll go out and talk to Michael in a second. Thank you for letting me know. All right. I'm hearing some great conversations, and it's really interesting to me the things that some of you noticed and picked up on in the articles that maybe the author didn't come right out and say. What is that called, by the way, when you read between the lines? Say it out loud. Very good. What vocabulary was new, unusual, or unfamiliar? Anissa? How do you pronounce that word? Penicillin. Have you ever taken amoxicillin? There you go. That has penicillin in it. What other words? Addison.
I couldn't read.
Lysosomes. Yeah, that's not a word you see too often in 5th grade material, right? Inoculate. I'm glad you said that. Inoculate appears a lot. Why do you think the author used certain words like inoculate, vaccine, immune? Why does the author keep using those same words over and over again instead of perhaps varying their word choice? Because we talk about that a lot, right? Like, using colorful word choice and varying the words you use. What do you think the author was thinking? Haley?
Maybe there's no other word to use, and maybe that's just one that you can just use there.
Maybe that is the best choice. Emma?
Maybe because maybe they knew young people would read it, and they wanted to have them if they use a different word, they might get something else.
Okay. My thinking matches, I think, where you're going with your idea. Anissa?
I think the words are really important, and another word can really describe how it is.
True. And if you think about inoculate, vaccine, immune, how important are those words to these two articles? How important are they? Ethan?
A lot, really important,
Because why?
because it's science and that's what it's about.
Do you think the article would be as effective if the author had used other words or kept varying their word choice? Maybe, maybe not. They're definitely important, though, to the meaning. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you a question about the speckled monster. Why on earth would the author call a disease, a virus, which is invisible to the naked eye, a monster? Other than to get you interested. Why? Why isn't it just called the smallpox virus or the virus that killed millions of people? Why the speckled monster? Gianna, what do you think?
I think because you get spots all over your body, and it's kind of like a monster kind of killing your body, the inside.
Okay, you're on the right track. Who can add to what Gianna just said? She said you get spots all over your body and it kills your body, kind of like a monster. What else could you add to that?
So the dots are it's like on a chameleon, some chameleons are speckled with dots.
Okay. So there are, in fact, markings that are like dots. So we get the speckled part, but why monster? Why that word choice? Because that's really important to the meaning of the article, right? The whole idea. Shakti.
It was gobbling up the population, and it was really.
Why do you say that? I'm sorry to interrupt. Why do you say it was gobbling up the population?
Because everyone was scared and trying to find a cure, and everybody was getting infected.
And what happened to a great majority of the people that got infected?
They died.
Right. And we talked about this with European explorers, right? When they came over during the triangular trade, prior to the triangular trade, they brought smallpox to Native Indians at the time. And that, wiped out many people on these continents. So, all right. What I'm going to have everybody do with your thinking, does everybody have both articles out?
Yeah.
Okay. While you're working on this next piece, I'm going to come around and sort of probe your group's thinking a little bit more. Okay. You're going to need probably a pen or a marker, something darker than a pencil so that your thoughts show. If you have to borrow one, I'll lend you one. And I'm going to put an example up here. Can everybody see this? Andy, you ready?
Yeah.
I want you to come on in. Will you wait right here for me? I'm going to give directions and then we'll chat, okay? All right. Everybody's going to get a large sheet of paper because I don't know about you, but sometimes it's nice to have a little bit more space than on lined paper. Yeah? Okay. You're going to set it up just like this. I divided the paper into 3 horizontal sections, and then I made the top and the bottom section. I divided those in half. Up here, you're going to label each square with the name of the 2 articles. So one will be for the speckled monster, one will be for the mystery of the messy desk. And notice I have the word differences here. What organizer do we typically use for similarities and differences, Sophia? Venn diagram. I've looked at a lot of Venn diagrams lately. I thought we'd sort of mix it up a little, okay? So your differences, how these articles are different from each other, are going to go up at the top. At least 5. I think many of you can do more. I did this exercise myself, and I came up with almost 10 for each. So you can do more than 5. I encourage you to. When you've got at least 5 great ideas as to how they're different, raise your hand. I'm going to come over, check your work, and then when I give you the okay, you're going to move down sort of like to level 2, okay? Now you're going to compare them. How are these articles the same? And we've talked about when we're comparing text, sometimes finding similarities harder, easier. It can be more challenging, right? So you're going to have to put a lot of thought into how they are the same. Why do you suppose I let you keep your articles on your desk with your coding marks? Max? How might that be helpful?
Because so you might need to find some differences and find some similarities and
Right.
vocabs in your words.
Right. I'd like you to use the articles. You have to be able to prove your point. If I say, well, Jamie, this is a great similarity here, but how did you arrive at this idea? Jamie will be able to say, well, in the messy desk, see where it says right here? And in the speckled monster, see this part here? They're the same because. So you need to be able to prove your point. We've talked about that with like Time for Kids and some other comparing and contrasting activities we've done. Once you have at least 5 similarities, and again, I did this myself and I came up with way more than 5. Raise your hand. I'm going to come take a quick peek, and if I feel like you've used the articles well, you're giving evidence for your thoughts, then I'm going to move you down to level 3. Level 3, you're going to share at least 3 new or unfamiliar vocabulary terms. They might be words you recognize, but words that you've never used in conversation, okay? And what I'd like you to do down here is either in words or in pictures. I want you to show that you know what that word means, okay? And you can use, what vocabulary strategy might you use? We use this all the time. We've talked about it many times. Andy?
Context clues?
Context clues, absolutely. And of course, if you need help, you're really stuck, raise your hand, or you can quietly ask a neighbor, because asking a neighbor is also a great strategy. Once you have at least 3, you might have 4 or 5 words, and that's all right. The last part, which requires using all these pieces together, is what big idea or ideas do they both have in common? Thinking about the articles as a whole. Think about theme or a lesson or what both of these authors want you to walk away with. The big idea. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Dushani?
For the vocabulary in your own work, does it have to be in like one of the packets?
It can be from either article. In fact, when you get down to this section here, I'm glad you said that. Maybe use a little abbreviation or something so you know which article it came from. How you do that is up to you. Okay? So, what I need now, one more question.
Wait, for the vocab in your own words, you just write the words there, and then in the big ideas you write the definition? Or
No.
You write how...
In vocab, in your words, you're going to choose, I would say, 3 to maybe even 5 terms that you don't regularly use in conversation, okay? Words that are relatively new or unfamiliar. Write the words, and then either in writing or in a drawing, you're going to show that you know what the word means. Not a dictionary definition. You could use a sentence. You could use a picture. You could use a descriptive phrase. It's up to you. So that I know that you know what the words mean using the context, okay?
And the big idea.
Big ideas is what are the main, most important ideas that they both share. Thinking like a theme of both articles or a lesson. What do you think both authors wanted you to know?
Like similarity.
But broader than that.
Yeah.
So this is why when you finish level 1, I want you to raise your hand so I can check in with you. When you finish level 2, raise your hand so I can check in with you. Okay? Further questions, comments, concerns? How many people have started looking at some of these photos? I tried to pick ones that were not super gory, but with smallpox, it's kind of hard. So we'll talk about those again. Hopefully at the end we'll have a few minutes to do that. Could I have the person at each group who is seated closest to me at the moment, if you would head to the round table and get the paper for your group. And actually your group, I'm going to hand this. If you would pass those out. And you need 5, Tyler? 6. 6? How many? 4? 4, Sophia? Yeah. 4? There you go. How many, Shakti? 5? 3, 4, 5. All right. Everybody starting at the top. Level 1, the speckled monster, the case of the messy desk. Is with Mrs. Short. Could you do me a favor, Jacob? Could you just walk down to her office and make sure he's down there and tell me? I will get out some extra markers. Go ahead, start dividing your paper up. You don't even need to fold it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Hold that thought, Andy. I'll be right there. Do you need like a Sharpie even?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Sharpies are on the windowsill. There's a bag of them. You want to bring them over here? Brock, are you getting the Sharpies? They're on the windowsill behind my desk. Let's bring the whole bag over.
Thank you. Yeah, you get that handy recorder?
Okay.
Really? You're
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I was always talking to it.
keep up with the stuff. She was really
I'm going to make a quick call to the office.
You're like 5'11".
Okay, one box is way bigger than the other, but I don't care. Okay, let's see.
You know what I mean? I can see.
Oh my gosh, it's not perfect. It's not
Okay.
That's what I do when I
This is Mikhail. I'm being
looking for perfection.
Ladies and gentlemen, less worry about the lines on the paper. I'm more interested in your thinking. You can. You should be writing probably within the next minute. Otherwise, no, it doesn't matter. Not for this. Phrases is okay. Phrases are okay. You're making it so perfect. And you know you don't have to, right?
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. If there's a line in the middle, don't worry about it. Go ahead. I have a few people. I see Shankar, I see Max. We're already getting some ideas down on the page. John's making good use of his time. How are you doing? Alexander Fleming was... Oh, not tidy. A very tidy person. Okay. See what then you can pull out of the actual article? Not just the subtitle, okay? That's okay. You're using the text. That's fine. Thomas is making good use of his time. How is the speckled monster different from the case of the messy desk? What's different about that article?
Well, it's like an 8.
Haley's getting some good thoughts down on paper. It's in here somewhere, right? There we go. Now, you've got to do these first before you move on to level 2. You're right, though. You don't want to lose your thought. Why do you guys think in The Mystery of the Messy Desk it talks about how Alexander Fleming spent a lot of time outside when he was younger? Why do you think the author put that in there? What do you think that has to do with?
Maybe to show how he... No, wait, no.
What do you think that has to do with his discovery? But this is when he was little, before he even became a scientist. Why share that he liked the outdoors so much?
Well, because he was in Scotland, and he was like really good.
Okay, but why else?
Like he's a scientist and he liked observing stuff.
Okay, right, because when he discovered penicillin, how did he discover that? Well, could he have missed that discovery?
Yeah, if he didn't
Well, what?
If he didn't leave the
What did he notice? What did he observe, like Ethan said? What did he observe that gave him that aha moment? What were those halos? Very good. So that observation. Could he have just come in and cleaned out his petri dishes and gone about his business? He could have totally missed it, right?
Yeah.
But he was very observant. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Oh, there's a lot. There are a lot. Let's see. I noticed you use the word virus as a difference. Why did you choose that word? Where? What about the messy deaths? Is there a virus in there? Are they the same or are they different? How are a bacteria and a virus different? For what?
You can make it grow it faster, but you can slow it down. Like it won't cause that much damage to it, but you can't make yourself immune to it.
Which of these articles do you think focuses on each?
I would say speckled monster focus on the virus further, because
And the messy deaths, do you think focuses on?
infections are just switched.
Is
Smallpox is one particular virus that once you get it, you don't do it again. But usually viruses, like this smallpox is a special case because usually you can get viruses again.
Can you use the text to prove it? Like, does it say virus in the speckled monster?
Yeah.
What about the messy dust? Does it talk about bacteria?
No, infections
Well, let's see. Look. I like Linnell's using her text. Let's look for that term, bacteria. There you go. You found it in the text. Oh, it's okay. Just cross it off. Drop. What do you mean? I'll be right back. Hon. Well, just cross it off. That's fine. You're right. I noticed that too, that this one had a lot of this in it. Why? Why do you think? Yeah, very good thinking. You're right. Longer than. What did Alexander Fleming discover? What medication came out of? Right, longer. This was around many years before this. Right. Sure, absolutely. Did you guys know where Mary's went? Go to the bathroom? I'll be right there, Mary.
Something I want to put for the messy desk over here, but I just don't know how to exactly explain what I want to write down.
That happens to me too. Can you describe to me what you're thinking?
Well, sort of, not exactly a disease made of, not exactly a disease or a sickness caused Alexander to make a medicine, but some sort of a mistake.
Okay. So like an accident.
Yes.
Well, you can say that. Exactly what you just said to me. How could you phrase that?
Not
He discovered.
he discovered a new medicine, not from disease, but from an accident.
There you go. You had it in you all along. Brock, how you doing? Yes. Oh my goodness. Fantastic. Is this, you want me to give you a check? Is this kind of the same as this?
I guess so, but
A little bit.
I accidentally did number 5 before I did number 4 here, so I had
Oh, very good. That's very observant. Okay, you're good to go. Try to find 5 similarities. Yes. Use your coding marks, honey. You have those articles out in front of you. They're both, I mean, they're both different, right? They're both not about smallpox and they're both not about penicillin, so there's gotta be, think about the people they mention in the articles. What differences do you see there? Right? Edward Jenner and Alexander Fleming.
this one talked about but do you think it's safe to say that penicillin hasn't been around as like long?
Yes. Because I think he won the Nobel, what didn't it say in the text? He won the Nobel Prize in 1845? Oh, 1945.
So actually that one hasn't been around for like
Gosh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is infinitely older. Mhm. So this is a baby compared to that. Sorry, Jamie. Anybody else need me to check? Thumbs up if you're nearly ready for a check to move on to similarities level 2. Okay, let me know when you're ready.
Could I put something like about the people?
Absolutely.
Like, because he was richer in this
Uh-huh. Absolutely. Yeah. Any commonalities or any differences at all, whether it's about the people, the science they were studying, the setting,
Yeah. And this person, his,
the cliffhanger, what came out of it. You have a lot of choices.
His idea became more well known and faster.
Mhm.
So
True. Absolutely. Both of those are terrific. I like the way you phrase that. How's it going over here? I think it's really fascinating that as you're working on the differences portion, many of you and your neighbors that are right beside you are coming up with very different ideas, which is awesome. Very, very cool. You will be sharing these, so make sure whatever you write down, you're able to share that and explain your thinking. Wealth, and I said excellent. Really good job. And you know what? Not all the kids. You kind of made yours parallel to each other. So this is, although they're differences, they're, same type of difference. I don't know if anybody else did that. Very cool. Yep, you're ready. Level 2. That's okay. And you notice that both of these took place outside the United States, too. Yeah, you can move on. Yes. What do you mean by this? Could you be more specific instead of one word? I will come back and check. How are you two doing? Almost ready? Brock, you look like you're nearly ready to move on.
A thing happened.
Oh, that's okay. I think that happens when I kiss. Oh. There we go.
There's a year on.
Well, does it give you a... Look down here. Last paragraph. I'll be right there, Thomas. Yes, honey. Well, think about both of their lives. Edward Jenner, what was his life like? Think about Alexander Fleming. Think about what they studied. What might be similar about them, their background growing up. Very good. Absolutely. Move on. Yep. All right. I'll come around as quickly. Start thinking about similarities, and I'm going to get to everybody as quickly as I can. Thank you. Yes. Move on.
They were both about science.
Is that your very best thinking?
Kind of.
Could you be maybe a little bit more specific? What in science? Okay. Thank you. Good word choice. Move on. A-R-A-C-T-E-R. Joshua. You're using holiday colors. Oh, good thinking. Could have or did? Millions, right?
One for the case of the missing desk.
You only have 2?
Yeah.
I'm glad you noticed that.
You can also do
Okay. You're fine. They're excellent. You can let me move on.
I just said about the story. I think say about the story.
It's okay. I just care about your thinking, not how pretty it looks. So you need room for one more difference on both sides? Do one up here. And do it over here. You can get off the escalator, Jamie. Problem solved, my dear. Just squeeze it in there, just as long as you see it enough that you can share it, with your peers. What happened because of these Yes. Yes.
I'm done. You can go to the bathroom after.
Yeah. Try to get at least 1 or 2 similarities done, okay, while you're waiting. All right. Looks like a lot of people are moving on to their similarities, which is fantastic. No. That's a good question, though, but no. Boys and girls, I'm anticipating that we will probably have to finish tomorrow. I see a lot of wonderful thinking, and I don't want to rush people. You still have a few more minutes, but while you're finishing up, I'm going to just throw out a few questions, okay? Can you listen to me while you're working, Addison? All right. One important question I talked about with this group here is we came across the words bacteria and virus in both articles, yes? What's the difference? We've had both of them in this room. What's the difference? Anissa?
Bacteria is kind of like there's lots of it in each virus, and virus is like a form of bacteria. And there's like different types of bacteria.
Let me ask you this. Which is easier to cure?
Bacteria.
Right. When you take medicine for a bacterial infection, maybe it's an ear infection, or maybe you have strep throat or something like that, you take like a penicillin type medicine, like amoxicillin or whatnot.
But you can make it go
Because,
away.
right, because you can make it go away. But a virus,
If you can
Who has
slow
had-
it down, but then yeah, you can slow it down, but you can't make it go away.
right.
So you can make it hurt less or like reduce the symptoms, but it goes away.
How do a lot of people reduce flu symptoms? What do a lot of people do in the fall?
They
Have soup.
they eat like one thing, like lots of food.
What do a lot of people do in the fall to protect themselves
Get shots. They eat nuts.
against a very common virus?
They get flu shots.
Right, which is basically you get a little tiny bit of a live flu vaccine so that you're, right, to that particular kind of flu. You could still get sick. And a virus, like the flu, there's no medicine for the flu, is there? You just have to kind of tough it out. So that's why viruses can be so dangerous and deadly, because there really is no cure for them. And they're much harder to tolerate or even get over. So, how do you think accidents can help us out in science? How do you think accidents can be useful in science? Because you would think scientists would be very precise, right?
Yeah.
Thomas, what do you think?
Well, like in the story, this guy discovered penicillin just by accidentally making a dish out. So like, I think that like even with accidents,
Uh-huh.
you can turn the accidents into something very useful or very.
Yes, and actually when I was over at Ethan's group, Ethan, what was it you said? I asked his group, why do you suppose the author mentioned that Alexander Fleming spent so much time outside? And you said?
Like, 'cause he was observing things.
He was very observant. So he really had to observe that Petri dish, Thomas, right? He could have totally missed what was happening in that dish, and maybe we still wouldn't have penicillin. If you're interested, this Mistakes That Worked book, where I tabbed it, this is all about penicillin and Alexander Fleming, and there's some other medical accidents that have led to great discoveries that are in this book. What I'm going to ask everybody to do right now, make sure your name is on your paper, okay? Thumbs up if you got to the similarities portion. I will. I'd like you to fold it in half. You're going to put your articles and your coding and turn and talk slips inside it like a folder. And one person at your group is going to neatly take your table stack over to the round table.
I dropped my yellow.
Everything in there. While people are packing up, last question. I'm going to point to a picture. You tell me speckled monster or messy desk. Ready?
Messy desk.
Messy desk.
Messy desk. Messy desk.
Very good. Why do you say messy desk? Mary. Well, and what's he holding? Addison.
Holding it looks like.
Guys, if you sit, everyone can see. Those little round.
Also, I was going to say you could see a bunch of plates in the background.
Okay, those little dishes are called Petri dishes, right? One receiving an award. Here are two kind of gruesome photos. This is a tame picture of smallpox. This is a staph infection, which is what Alexander Fleming was studying when he discovered penicillin. What about this? Someone getting a vaccination. What do you think this graph could be representing? Right, the rise of smallpox and its decline going into the 1900s. Awesome. All right, is everything stacked up on the